They stick their nose into the wagon so that the kids can give them cookies or whatever it is that they give them, bread, and they stick their tongues out, and they sometimes wrap their tongues around the kid's finger, or that's just kind of what they do with it. But since this problem occurred, I did dispatch the rooster to another place.
So pursuant to Article 225.5, the right to farm, I would like to lodge a grievance. On Sunday, September 5, 2021 at noon, I was attacked by a rooster at Eastleigh Farm in Framingham. The attack was unprovoked and unexpected. The rooster charged my ankle forcefully with his beak, breaking the skin and drawing blood, with the result that I went to Bid Hospital in Needham to have the wound checked out and to get a tetanus shot. The ankle has been very painful and bruised for several days. After the initial attack by the rooster, the bird immediately followed me for several yards as I tried to return to my car and attempted to attack me several more times. I regard this rooster as a public health risk and would like the city of Framingham to handle this incident and establish rules or parameters with regard to roosters in order to prevent injury to others. Dangerous roaming roosters pose a threat to families and others visiting Eastleigh Farms, which is open to the public. Right after the attack, I reported the incident to Mary, who works at the farm. I pointed out the rooster who attacked me, and she said she would put him in a cage for the rest of the day. I do not think that this solves the overall problem due to the fact that the rooster continues to be free roaming threat to public safety, as are all the many roosters there roaming at the farm. Perhaps they should all be in a closed pen or cages. On Sunday, I reported the incident by phone to Framingham Police and Framingham Animal Control, and on Tuesday to the Board of Health, which was closed when I had called on Sunday. All right, so this is.
Do we have any rules about roosters on farms? Or, I mean, I have no idea what the animal rules are on farms in Framingham.
It's a working farm. When you drive in, there's a big sign saying it's a working farm, enter at your own risk.
Yeah, thank you for sending that picture, that sign. That helped me a lot.
Yeah, I just feel like anytime you go somewhere where there's animals, you're accepting a certain level of risk. And like, I've been to Eastleigh Farm, so like really my only question is like, how big is the rooster? Because I saw some like really little ones. And I just feel like when you enter an animal's home, sometimes there's going to be something that you don't know that you're doing that's going to upset them. I'm not saying like, I mean, it's a bird.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but if all the committee members want to be heard. You both, those Natasha and Linda who have spoken, have basically understood what the right to farm bylaw is all about. And the reason the sign is there is to explain what might happen in a circumstance like that. Obviously, we don't plan on having people encounter a rooster. What people don't know about roosters is they're sometimes affected by a certain odor or smell. I make no suggestion about that, but that rooster has been on the farm for 2 years and we have not had a problem with it. But since this problem occurred, I did dispatch the rooster to another place. So, and when we have, I mean, we're not, the reason that I bought the farm was to save it. The reason that it's open to the public is because there are fabulous things that go on there. The cows, the hay rides that people can experience out in the pasture with the cows, seeing the chickens wander around as free range birds, the goats that are extraordinarily friendly and fun, all that stuff is there for people to enjoy. I have ice cream available because it kind of makes for a congregating communication. And there are children who are around these animals all the time. There are more children that come to Eastleigh than adults. And once in a while, you're going to have something that is not going to be what you like to have happen. You take appropriate action, and that's pretty much it. We're not callous or careless. Mary is one of the most loving, kind people on the planet. That's why she's there. And the people that are there care about what's going on, want us to have people learn. It's an educational facility. They want to have people have a good time and be able to participate, buying eggs, buying ice cream, whatever it is that you want to do, you can sit there and enjoy it. I'm sorry the lady had the incident that she did, but I think that sometimes these things, because as you have noted, there's not a lot of information, there's not a lot of connection to agriculture. And that again was the reason that I bought it, because I wanted to try to either sustain or bring back some of the activities on that farm and other farms up in our part of the city, so that people would actually know. Kids are afraid of tractors only because they make noise. They're afraid of cows because they're big. There's nothing to be afraid of. You understand and go and learn. That's, we're there to help people learn about animals and the farm. So I mean, as far as the rooster is concerned, I can't tell you that that's not going to happen again. That rooster's not around, and most of the roosters are actually quite amusing. But that's the sort of stuff. And at first, frankly, I was kind of annoyed, but then understanding that for the very reason we're having this meeting and this committee exists, people need to know what goes on the farm. People have an extraordinary lack of understanding or knowledge when it comes to agriculture today. And we probably found that out more because of the pandemic and people when the food stores ran out of food and they started nosing around to find farms that had food. That was one of the biggest wake-up calls I think we've had in agriculture in a decade or more. So at any rate, that's the story from my perspective.
What does a person who buys a farm need to do with the city to, do you just go buy the farm and you're good to go, or do they do inspections, or are they, I'm sure you've got hoops to go through with the city to show that you're running a good farm and all those things? Yeah,
I mean, there's a certain amount of that. There's a certain amount of understanding that the people who are doing this know what they're doing. Certainly in Tommy's case, my case, the Stearns Farm people, they've been doing it for a long time. There are a lot of new people that have come into agriculture. I happen to do a radio program called The American Family Farmer, and each week I talk with people who are trying to help improve life on the family farm, which is increasingly under attack. We milked cows at Eastleigh until 2015. I sold 100 gallons of raw milk a day when we were milking 100 cows. And it was one of the real focal points, not only of Framingham, and people saying, Framingham, there's a dairy farm in Framingham, but we had people coming from 40, 50 miles in every direction to buy the milk. The supervision from the state and the local Board of Health. I did go to the Board of Health to tell them what I was doing. I didn't have to, because the state regulates most of the things like the sale of raw milk and the sale of milk that goes to be processed. The town doesn't really have much sway or say in that, but I did it as a courtesy because I wanted to do that. But anyway, the Board of Health they inspect the ice cream bus every year, and they come around, the animal control people come around every year and they look at the animals to see that they're healthy. That's the sort of thing. I hope that answers your question.
An incident like this occurs, is that the typical situation to kind of assess it from your standpoint?
Well, in terms of chicken psychology, you're not going to know an animal until the animal is there. And we have, I don't even know how many chickens we have. We get a lot of them, and we sell a lot of eggs. And there's a youngster who takes care of those animals. His full-time job is to take care of the chickens and the goats and the other animals, and to work with Mary to make sure that the animal health that's the priority for me, and they all know that. The chickens are more of an amusement, frankly, and so what the board of health came out, and we talked to them, but they understand. The lady who took care of handled the situation understands completely what's going on at Eastleigh, understands completely that there are going to be incidents like this, and understands completely that most people in town know that I'm not interested in having any upset, any incidents, any trouble. So if something like this comes to my attention, I just take care of it. No, I mean, this last weekend we had the sort of semi-annual Civil War reenactment, and there were literally thousands of people that came to the farm, and everybody was out and about as usual. The only incident came from a neighbor who complained about the the guns going off. Other than that, there were no incidents with animals. There just aren't. I mean, there are over the course of the season, there are thousands of people that come to Eastleigh. So that we had one incident, you know, I guess we're lucky that maybe we've only had one incident. You know, the cows, when there's a hayride out in the field, the cows follow the wagon around. They stick their nose into the wagon so that the kids can give them cookies or whatever it is that they give them, bread, and they stick their tongues out, and they sometimes, you know, wrap their tongues around the kid's finger, or, you know, that's just kind of what they do. And if you don't know, that's the reason, again, for doing this. If they don't know, then they're going to be afraid. If they know, then they are going to be afraid.
In terms of Doug, I did not formally invite Doug to this meeting. I know that we were going to have, initially the discussion was, do we invite the person who asked for the reporting the incident and then Eastleigh Farms, and then it was suggested that maybe that's probably not the best suited methodology. So I think we're going to just have an introduction to the committee and then discuss the matter. Doug so happened to be here because it's a public agenda.
Well, I didn't come on board to discuss the rooster. As I said at the beginning, it was kind of nonsensical. What I wanted to do was sort of lend a hand, if it was desired, to the history of the committee and to what is going on really with some of the agricultural components of town, to offer myself as a resource and to go away. But I stayed for a little while just to sort of add my 2 cents with it. And the answer to the question about when did I know about it, I knew about it 10 minutes after it occurred, and the rooster was gone in 15 minutes, so I think. But the chicken was gone within minutes after the incident occurred.
Last question on this is, what do we need to do as a committee? Because I know you just mentioned that we need to advise the Board of Health. Do we need to do that now? Do we need to make a decision now? Or is that something that we need to think about and then email and come up with a solution?
Let me just, if I may, add a little color to this, and then I'm going to go away.
Yeah.
The reason I brought the bylaw is a state bylaw. It's codified by the state. The right to farm bylaw is a state law. I wanted it codified in Framingham because there was an incident, I don't know, probably a year before we got it codified, where somebody complained about me going down Edmonds Road with a manure spreader, and a couple of plops of cow manure fell onto the street. And you'd think that we'd murdered somebody with the activity that was created. And I went to the Board of Health. Mike Hugo was the chairman at the time. And he asked me, he and I didn't know each other at the time, and it was just before I did the raw milk thing. Anyway, the point is that the knowledge gap in Framingham is so huge that I wanted to try to bring something to the surface that would make it easier for folks to understand, if they're interested in farming, what it's all about. And so, but it's very, I mean, as I said, I lived in Framingham all my life. I've lived within the same quarter mile in 4 different houses. I've owned every farm that I worked on as a kid at one point in time. Agriculture to me is a very important part of my life, and I think the life of Framingham. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to do as much as I can to extol the value and virtue of farming and agriculture. And so that's the intention. And anytime anybody wants to send me an email, it's easy to do through the Eastleigh website. I think I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate your allowing me to speak. And I'm the friendly farmer, the Framingham's friendly farmer. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Triple F. We could just say that the board reviewed the incident. The owner of the farm happened to stumble in, explain the situation and explain the circumstances that occurred. We can explain to the Board of Health the occurrence of the rooster after the incident being sent away or put in a different location. And
He took care of the bird. I mean, whether or not he actually dispatched it or just like moved it somewhere more private,
I thought that was it.
seems like it kind of took care of itself. Like,
They responded appropriately.
yeah, I mean, when I was reading the woman's emails, I wasn't really clear what she wanted or what was her goal, because she did seem kind of amped up about it, understandably. But she wanted it, one of the emails I think said she wanted it locked up. Okay, well, that's what the farm worker did. She immediately took the bird, left with it and locked it up. And then it went wherever it went. So now it's not an issue. I don't really know how that's a public health issue. Because the roosters aren't going to just start walking around Framingham and attacking people.
Most municipalities do not allow for roosters in areas that are non-farms, you know, the outright
Right, but this is a farm.
Right.
so-
But that photo, that sign, like when you first drive in, it's
Ah.
right there. You can't.
Oh,
miss it.
yeah, no,
Like,
that's, I just haven't gone in.
Their own risk kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So-
So I think they've done their due diligence as far as having the public. My initial question was, well, you're inviting the public, so there's a certain amount of safety that you need to kind of be aware of, but that sign for me kind of took care of it.
We didn't have any roosters at Drumlin Farm.
I think there's some there now. I was there a few months ago with my students.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, because roosters just mean that you're getting more chickens and roosters.
Roosters mean you don't have to pay for more chickens.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line for this individual is not the fact that she wants him to get rid of his roosters. I just think that she just wanted to promote awareness that this had happened to her. And God forbid this should happen to anyone else to come after. Even a kid could have gotten attacked. And we understand what happens in the farm. I think that we as a committee have taken it under consideration and discussed it. We have shared information from the photos. We have heard from the farm. I would suggest that our suggestion is that we have reviewed it, taken it under consideration, support the evidence of the picture saying that, you know, enter your own risk. But at the same time, we too will have to just keep a watchful eye for future incidents that may happen at this farm or any other farms.